Yeah, there you go.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 5, 2023 City of Fraser Regular Planning Commission meeting. Would you please turn any devices, cell phones off so it doesn't disrupt the meeting? Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Microphones are on, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda item 1 is call the meeting to order and the Pledge of Allegiance, which we've just done. Agenda item 2 is a roll call. Ms. Grenia, would you please do the roll call?
Commissioner Barr,
Here.
Chair Zarnicki,
Present.
Commissioner Farina,
Present.
Mr. Meyer,
Here.
Mr. Perry,
Here.
Mr. Kyle,
Here.
Mr. Warner.
Here.
Quorum present. Thank you, Ms. Grenia. Agenda item 3, approval of the agenda. Are there any comments or revisions or changes to the agenda? And if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
I'll second that.
Been moved by Commissioner Kyle and support by Commissioner Warnick to approve the agenda as printed. Would you do a roll call, please, Ms. Grenia?
Commissioner Barr,
Agree.
Chair Zarnicki,
Yes.
Commissioner Farina,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Kyle,
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Agenda item 4 is the chairperson's opening remarks. Tonight's meeting will follow the agenda that was posted online and has been printed for you here and is available at the entrance of the room. It's important to let everyone know that the Planning Commission is created by state law. The commission is comprised of 7 members, all of whom have volunteered to serve. Members are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by city council. The role of the Planning Commission is to plan and promote the efficient, coordinated development of the city for the health, safety, and general welfare of its residents. We are not here to negotiate with applicants or allow everyone an applicant is requesting. However, the Planning Commission does have the power to approve certain requests and recommend others, depending on the nature of the request and whether all of the standards in the zoning ordinance have been met. The Planning Commission may also impose conditions on a proposed project in order to ensure that those standards are met. Other individuals seated here this evening are the city's legal representative from O'Reilly Rancio, Elisa Erickson, and city planners McKenna and Associates, Mr. Littman and Ms. Warren. Also present this evening, City Clerk Cindy Grenia. I'm so sorry, Cindy, for that. We have no public hearings this evening, so I will go to the next agenda item, which is agenda item 5, approval of minutes, March 1, 2023. I just have a few comments. I know Ms. Grenia presented us with revised minutes tonight. I had asked her to make a few corrections, and the corrections I had asked her to do is the spelling of Commissioner Kyle's name, the correct spelling. It was misspelled in several locations. I asked her to call me Chair Zarnicki as opposed to Chairman, and I said caption number 3, unfinished business, was misspelled. And she has made those corrections for us. And that revised copy is before us this evening. Are there any other comments on the draft minutes presented? And if not, then I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as drafted and revised.
I so move.
Okay, any support?
I'll support.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Farina and support by Commissioner Kyle to approve the minutes as revised, the March 1, 2023 draft minutes as revised. Would you do a roll call, please, Ms. Grenia?
Commissioner Barr,
Yes.
Chair Zarnicki,
Yes.
Commissioner Farina,
Yes.
Mr. Meyer,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Kyle,
Yes.
Mr. Warner.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 6, new business. A, public notices, there are none. B, a site plan and other review, zoning text amendment, sign ordinance, and setting a public hearing date. Mr. Littman, can you give us a review on that, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Do I push this button? I forgot. Okay, here we go. Good evening. So I wanted to make the commission aware that we've put together a draft sign ordinance. I would like to give a very quick overview, but I was told today that the lawyers would like to take a close look at this before we get too far and before we have a public hearing. But just looking broadly, today the sign ordinance that we have on the books right now, the sign ordinance regulations, they're primarily based on driving speed, which we believe is rather confusing. Our revisions establish district-specific requirements where sign size and type are scaled to the particular district. So areas that are commercial are going to be allowed to have larger signs, whereas smaller signs would be permitted in neighborhoods. And these sign regulations that are based on districts are also easier to enforce and administer. The revised ordinance also includes a simple checklist to determine if a sign complies with the ordinance. And in the revisions, we've moved the procedures and requirements together in the text, and moving the application procedures to the very beginning of the ordinance also makes it easier to administer. But of course, this is just the first draft, and we're very open to modifying and getting your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Littman. Commissioner Farina.
Hi, Andrew, we talked this afternoon.
Yes.
And I'm just going to recap our conversation.
Sure.
I met with the gentleman who drafted this and told him what I wanted to see in there. I can't find the items that I wanted to see in an ordinance in there.
Okay. Yep.
And I cannot cross-reference our ordinance to this ordinance
Yep.
in an easy fashion. So, and I would assume that everybody would have a similar problem to me. So I am looking for someone to lead me through.
Yep.
And if anybody else wants to be there, the ordinance and how it pertains to our current ordinance and how it would differ from our current
Yep.
ordinance.
Okay.
Secondly, when we've done that, I would like that, when we get close to finalization, a copy of that ordinance given to the ZBA, because they will be the people responsible for enforcing that, to have a look at it and have an input on what that ordinance says before we set a public hearing or plan on going to city council at all. So those are my requirements that I would like to see going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Warnick.
Yes, I agree with Frank. I think with all the time we spent previously trying to put this together with a lot of different meetings and that, there's a lot involved. It looks like this was taken from some other city. I mean, it's got I-96 frontage and all that, and I think the only thing we could put in that is an I-94, or I-94, I mean M97. But I think it definitely needs fine-tuning.
Yep.
Being a small city, I have no idea if this came from a big, 36 square mile township or what. We're just a 4 square mile city, but there's been a lot of input previously, and to just take all that I know Frank worked a lot on and just dump that and go to something else. I think maybe a meeting type by atmosphere with both boards or something, and then walk through it like you were talking. So after the attorneys do that, I think we should walk through it step by step. It's a big change and a big step. There's a lot of little things in there that I thought were great, and other things that are just kind of vague still that could be changed to accommodate this city's ways more, but I'm glad now it's there's a direction. Started with something that's very well organized here, and it's just a matter of making it work for our city. So, I'm excited.
Commissioner Kyle?
When we get stuff like this, it'd be nice, I mean, I read the whole thing, and it looks great, but anytime we get something like this and there's changes, if we could have the changes highlighted. Because I don't have a copy of the original sign ordinance, so I don't know what's being added or what's already there, so.
See, is this on? I forgot.
Uh-oh.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, may I just, I completely understand. I think the difficulty here, though, is that we're really starting from scratch. It's really completely different. So I think that Commissioner Farina's point, though, is we could cross-reference, right? If there's a new section 1 is, analogous to the 4th section in the old one. So, but it's not quite as simple as it typically is. But yeah, okay, I understand.
Commissioner Farina?
Yeah, I printed that out, and it's a lot of pages to look at,
The original.
and it's very small type.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, these old eyes don't do well with small type anymore.
You printed the old one out? Is that
No,
what
the
you're?
new one.
The new one, okay, yes.
I have a copy of the old.
Yeah, okay. But you were not able to do the, the transformation from old to new, right? Okay. So the format is brand new?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, it's entirely.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, so we're going to do our best to bring it back to us,
Yep.
kind of, review it and walk us through it, and let the ZBA also review it and go forward. Okay. All right. Do you think it might be ready for the next meeting, or have no clue?
Honestly, I think probably, I would think June or July, just because of the depth and the overall
Okay.
length of the proposal.
Okay.
Our office does want to kind of do a deep dive into any legal issues too, obviously. So.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Erickson. Okay, if no further comments, is anybody in the audience who would like to speak on the sign ordinance? Okay, let the record reflect there's no one present. And we will go on to the next item. Agenda item number 7, unfinished business, site plan 20-03, 33180 Grossbeck Retail Center. Mr. Littman?
Okay. So here, the applicant has proposed to modify the facade of an existing multi-tenant building and add a wrought iron fence on the north side of the property. The seven-tenant space is currently occupied by a restaurant, 2 offices, a storage facility, a phone repair store, a hair salon, and 1 space is vacant. And the site is zoned CG, General Business District. So last September, a similar site plan for this property was approved, conditional on landscaping details being provided, which it appears they have done, getting a variance for requested 6-foot-high masonry wall, and furnishing us with signed shared parking and cross-access agreements that meets the approval of the city attorney and that are properly recorded. So the applicant's initial site plan, considered last year, proposed a 6-foot-high masonry wall along the north edge of the property, in front of the front building line, separating the property from the adjacent lot. In October of last year, the ZBA denied the applicant's variance request for the 6-foot-high masonry wall, but said they would allow a, quote, decorative wrought iron fence of not more than 4 feet in height. And they have shown this 4-foot-high wrought iron fence on the new site plan. And therefore, they're in compliance with the fencing. However, the major issue is Section 32-9415 of the zoning ordinance, which states that, quote, "Adequate ingress and egress to the parking lot by means of clearly limited and defined paved drives shall be provided for all vehicles." And this is a multi-parcel site, and it depends on adjacent properties for ingress and egress to some parking spaces. One needs to go through the neighbor's parking lot to get to part of the applicant's available parking. So therefore, we need cross-access agreements and shared parking agreements provided to us. Although the planning department and Alicia in particular have made several attempts to obtain these shared parking agreements, the applicant's attorney has not provided them to us. And without these agreements, we can't recommend site plan approval. So at this time, we would recommend that the Planning Commission table the site plan application until the applicant provides us with the requested shared parking and cross-access agreements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Littman. Commissioner Farina?
Mr. Lippman? If they haven't given us the agreements to this date, what is going to force them to give us the agreements after this? By just not approving their site plan?
I'm not sure how to answer that.
Let Alyssa, the other girl, answer.
Thank you, Mr. Farina. So just for a little bit of clarification on what Mr. Littman indicated. So when they went to ZBA, and I'm sure, Mr. Farina, you're aware that the ZBA sent it back to Planning Commission for that approval as part of this site plan approval. So really what the Planning Commission is looking at is approving that fence that was sent back here as part of the site plan. And additionally, as part of the first site plan approval, one of those conditions was the parking agreements and the shared access agreements. So in our office's position is that if the applicant is able to obtain those agreements, it would make sense to postpone this, to be able to get that in place for our office to review. However, if the applicant is unable to obtain those agreements, that would be a situation where we would have to bring it back, and we would be looking at modifying those conditions if that's not obtainable. So it's really probably going to be based on the applicant's status with those agreements to see kind of what the commission can do procedurally one way or the other moving forward.
Would that include modifying the parking lot and the ingress to the parking lot?
In terms of on the site plan, Mr. Farina? If they could not obtain the parking agreements, that might be a solution, yes.
For my clarification, Ms. Erickson, so you're saying if the applicant cannot get the agreements, and you said it would have to come back and be modified, you're talking about the original
Correct.
site plan being modified itself, and also the motion that we made saying it had to have the agreements in place?
So essentially, the applicant would be looking to modify those approval conditions, much like, the commission has done in the past for other, cases that unfortunately can't meet the conditions that were imposed.
Okay.
So that would be if the applicant's unable to bring them to the.
Is the site plan, can it be approved without the cross-access and shared agreements?
So the way that the commission has approved it is conditioned upon those being provided and recorded. So we would have to come back on a completely different day and modify the conditions to perhaps, if the commission desired to take that condition out or to modify that condition in a different way, perhaps change the egress, things of that nature. But you would have to come back at a later date so we could renotice it.
Do the official approval?
Hopefully that helps. I know it's a little confusing,
That's
but.
okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board before we ask the applicant to come up? Commissioner Warnick?
Yeah, I guess I'd wait till the applicant's up to address some things, but I guess, okay, so let's get something clarified, though. We did not fully approve this site plan even, because I had issues that were never brought back. So we aren't in that stage like you're talking, where it's just the access agreements. we had the parking issues at the south side, and I don't know that we said yes to everything except continuing the facade and finishing that up. And maybe the landscaping, we like that. But I'm looking at different things, like, I look at that dumpster. I look at things practical-wise. I got a big problem still with that parking situation at the south side. But I look at that dumpster, it's 2 to 3 yards, and you've got a restaurant in there, and you've got 11, I think there's 11 people there, and I'm just worried that a 2 to 3 yard dumpster is going to be filled up daily, probably, with that many tenants, depending what each one does. Some might not have anything, might have one trash can or something. But I'm just worried with how small that dumpster is and how far away it is. And I don't know if I'm even familiar with where the restaurant was going to be. But that's the kind of questions for the petitioner. So, but I wanted to at least get us to that point that it wasn't fully approved to just for the the parking access agreements, you know?
Yes. Commissioner Warnick, and I did ask, Ms. Warren did follow through, and she sent us the minutes of the September 7th
Yes.
meeting. Did you read that?
Yeah, I read it.
Did you read the motion? It doesn't say anything about
Doesn't say anything about it.
Well, it doesn't say anything about the dumpster, for sure.
Yeah, but it talks about where I said something about the parking that was supposed to be addressed.
Correct, but yes, and I thought that related to the cross-access agreements, is what I thought that related to.
Well, it could have been, but
Okay.
there was still a,
Okay, so this evening, when our applicant comes, we're going to talk about the dumpster and the parking,
yeah.
right? Okay. And we have Ms. Meyer.
Yes, the paperwork from McKenna also states that the required amount of parking spaces is 81, and the parking spaces provided is 82. But this drawing still shows 79 parking spaces, and there were 2 to 3 parking spaces that were parallel parking spaces along the gross spec facade that is still not included on the drawing. So that's another issue that was supposed to be fixed and has not been addressed yet.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Meyer. Any other comments? Okay, I ask that the applicant come up, Mr. Hanna, and go ahead, both of you can come up and just introduce yourselves.
Good evening. My name is Nina Asmar. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Hanna.
I'm Kevin Hanna, owner of the building.
Would you like to enlighten us and give us your view of what's going on here?
Sure. Ms. Chair, so in regard to the issues that were detailed to me on an email from Alicia Warren, that the issues that on this email have been addressed, one of them being the detailed landscape, sorry. Okay, so like I said, the issues that were included on the email have been addressed, except for the issue of the parking and cross-access easements. And like Mr. Littman has stated, those issues were already addressed. For the shared parking and cross easements, there is a standard. We measured the width of the entrance that is located on Mr. Hanna's property, and that is 35 feet wide. And as you know, an average car is about 5.8 wide, 5.8 feet wide. So that's about that is about 6 vehicles that can go in and out of that, entrance that is located on Mr. Hanna's property. Also, we have tried to get an agreement signed by the adjacent owner property. However, they refuse to cooperate because they are on a land contract. And I explained to them the issue of being on a land contract, that the seller of the property of a land contract does not own a real property interest into the property. It's only as a security interest. It's called like a personal interest to the property for security of payment. And that does not convert into a real property till they default on a land contract. And I explained that to them, but he still said, I don't feel comfortable signing it because I don't fully own the property yet till I pay it off. And then but he said, I have no issue with car coming into the, car coming into from his entrance to Mr. Hanna's,
May I
property.
interrupt and just, would you explain which, building we're talking about?
We're talking about the building on the 14 Mile.
The bar. We're talking about the bar?
Yes,
Okay, all right.
yes, about the bar
Thank
on
you,
14
Mr.
Mile.
Hanna.
talking about this entrance, 35 feet wider.
Okay, okay.
Yes, and
All right.
I believe you need a cross access to that little one.
And the bar, he has that one.
Yes,
And mine, this one. And this the property.
that's the line to the
Can you
property.
take the microphone with you there? I'm sure he's going crazy in there thinking, just so that it gets recorded, just so what you're saying gets on
Okay.
through there.
This the line is between, the bar and my property. This one right here. This is my entrance, 35 feet wider. This one his is only like, I think it's 15 or 18 wider for the bar. So this is the parking lot for bar.
So it doesn't even cross over to
No.
Okay,
So
so,
he used my parking lot. No, I don't use his parking lot. So I don't know why you need the agreement, share agreement. I don't know why.
It's all with it's with the old Dairy Queen.
Dairy Queen is here.
Yeah. That's where the problem was.
I think that's where the
Trying to
problem-
get those parking spaces, you had them going differently. This is a new drawing.
I know.
You had them going all against the northerly direction.
I know, but
Now
this
you
one we
added
did-
those
yeah.
over there.
We changed it.
Yes.
Yeah, we changed that one.
But, and this one doesn't give the exact property line for the Dairy Queen. Is it pretty much if you continue those lines? See, if you look at those, there's two spaces. One's handicap and one's not. And is that property line of the Dairy Queen?
Right here.
Follow that line?
It's right here. See?
Yeah. So, I still think it's tight for people to use those parking spots, especially a handicap. That's why I was getting to
It's
something.
right here for this more
Right,
than this one. Do you see this area?
Yep.
This one.
If everything was perfect, that'd be great, probably. The only thing I saw somebody today, and that's what reminded me of this. That other spot going the other direction, the first one, a lady pulled in to a spot, and she doesn't even know that you got another 3 feet you could go. No, she stopped the car right there. Not there, not at this place, somewhere else. But I just want to use that for an example. That person, maybe it's their vision or what, I don't know, but they didn't pull all the way in, and they're sticking out 2 feet from where that line ends. So it's all a human thing. That's just human error, but it's going to happen. What happens to that handicap spot? I think it's a bad location for a handicap spot because you need definite freedom for a handicap spot. They're the most important parking spots you got there.
You can't
And I
take the
think you
handicap
closed
right
them,
here.
you closed them in still where it's not easy access for a handicapped person to back up safely for that long distance and try to make a turn and not go into the Dairy Queen area. That's the thing, and maybe offering something else. I just think, I'm glad you separated all the handicap spots really good. I just think that's not a good handicap spot. Just from all my experience with reviewing plans,
You can put them here, handicap.
yes,
Yeah, we can,
Take it from here.
that's what I would do.
okay.
Now, will it take up a spot? It might. I think you're going to need to keep that dead area where you have the unloading zone for a handicap van, those angled lines, the diagonal lines. That's, now you're not going to be able to change that to a parking spot. So you got to make those lines up somewhere else. So maybe around on that right side, at the back corner of the building there, you could probably get the unloading zone there and still get it to work. That's just going to be a dead area as far as I can say. So that would really make it much more productive for handicapped people.
So may I just So you mean the first parking would be the unloading area on the?
No, you can't make that, I wouldn't make that a parking spot because there's no way to back up out of that
Okay.
unloading.
Where exactly would you want the unloading spot? Like here?
Oh, on the other one, if you, yeah, go up and, I wish I had a pointer. Yeah, keep it right there. So if you go on the right side, is there enough room to put that, the unloading side of that? Without, because you got one space left. If everything's right, and like Ms. Meyer talked about the parallel parking in the front, then you still had one spot. So you could utilize 2 of those spots for one handicap. But if you got enough room to go to the right as looking at it, yeah, right there, without affecting anything, it's an unloading zone. It's not, nobody should be parking in that. So and when you think about a van accessible, they got to come out there. That gives them room, and it gives them a little protected safety with the striping.
We'll make that change.
And I think that would take care of that problem. As long as we can still keep the minimum number of parking spots.
So the handicap parking that you're asking to be in another location?
Yeah,
Actually, unless do you have entrances to your retail from behind and the rear entrances? You do, okay. All right, okay. I was going to say it wasn't going to be
Well,
convenient.
there was the party store there before, so that,
Right, yes, I understand that.
The other side as well? Yeah.
can you just, because you already know, do you already know your tenants?
I'm sorry?
Do you already know your tenants?
Say
Like,
again?
do you already know the tenants?
I know him, yeah.
Where's the most? I would think the restaurant. Where's the restaurant?
Restaurant is not there anymore.
Yeah, so there's nothing
gone.
yet
He
for a
gone.
restaurant. But
The restaurant is here.
so I'm just trying to think of where the biggest volume would be of people trying to park close to if they're going to use that.
Restaurant is
They don't want to
closed.
park way up those top ones, but if they have to, I guess.
Anyway, this one, let me tell you, this one is insurance.
Okay.
This one is vacant.
Okay.
This one is vacant. This one is studio. It's only 2 car, 1 car, 2 cars have. Restaurant is closed. This one is vacant. This one insurance.
Okay.
Okay?
So there's not a big volume of.
No.
A restaurant would be your biggest volume.
Yes, but it's closed. Closed
The
down.
party store's not there anymore, are you?
No, no.
You're not looking at another
No,
party
it's been
store or anything?
closed long time ago, about 2 or 3
Yeah,
years.
so that's why those parking spots were there to provide for that.
Yeah.
So really, I'm sure those parking spots will be used if they have an entrance even in the front. Well, you can't walk across the Dairy Queen area.
Yeah. It was before like this, but you guys
Yeah.
make it to change. It was like this. We
Yeah.
change it, yeah. Because
So I
of
think
Dairy Queen.
This solves the problem you had before. I think that's good.
Yeah.
If we get rid of that, get the handicap out of there. When I saw that, it's,
Yeah, we check it, yeah. There's no big
you know
deal.
there's going to be problems down the road.
Yeah, I know.
May I
Then-
ask if there is like a minimum number of handicaps parking spots?
1 per 25.
1 per 25.
Yeah. So,
So you got 4, so you meet that with the 82 or 81.
I think we have 5, not 4, I believe.
I
have another one here, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I see the sign today. I was
Biggest
there.
problem without keeping one there, though, is those N units, those 4
Yeah.
units.
Yeah.
They don't have anything.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you got in the front, but the problem is going to be
Access.
access.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Convenient
really a tight area. It's always been. I've been here my whole life. And that front area was always parallel parking. Other cars just barely squeeze through with the parallel parking now. I hate seeing that parallel parking in the front. It's so tight when you tried it then, because the car's got to go in, and you're going to have somebody trying to parallel park. Nobody's a perfect parallel parker, it seems, you know. We learn it in our driver's ed and all that, but I've seen some horrendous people, you know, trying to make it work like it should. So, but if we got the right number of parking spots, that's fine. I just feel those people, if they know ahead of time, that's going to bring your renter in there.
Yeah.
Because they accept that. So, and they know some of these businesses only need 1 or 2 parking spots.
Yeah, studio, 2 car.
Yeah.
The
So
studio
it's
right
not-
here.
And they would park back, because they
Yeah.
would leave that for a customer.
Insurance only one park.
Yeah.
That one,
That's what I mean, it's one of those things you're not going to know until you see if there is problems.
Yeah.
If there, people should be smart enough, if they're
Yeah.
going to rent a spot from you, to look at everything and say, yeah, this will work for me. So,
I've heard like, this lady, she's like a broker, for truck broker, only one car, this lady here.
yeah, I really like,
Yeah.
I like the design of using that space up better.
Yeah.
It never was really striped good.
I know.
And this is really going to change that. You changed the appearance already of the whole place.
Looks great.
So,
Thank you.
so I'm just trying, this is our only chance we get to solve some of these problems. And I think if we can solve that handicap spot there, it's definitely a start. The other thing, like I said, I'm just concerned that that dumpster is going to have stuff, because they're going to start throwing stuff over it. It's going to be flowing, overflowing.
No, because it's 8-yard dumpster.
Oh,
They
it said
take
2 to 3 yards on it.
No, 8.
Okay.
8 is one thing. Now we take it every week once. Soon we have more tenant. They're gonna be every another day, and then every day.
Well, if you get to a point like the restaurant, and sometimes they need a grease pit and that kind of stuff, it takes up more room.
We're gonna be put them here because I don't wanna be like like trashy. Every tenant you have.
It changes the whole
Yes,
appearance.
no,
So if you
that's
can
why I
keep
don't
that
like it,
hidden
yeah.
back there.
Yeah.
The only thing is that if it does grow, would you be taking up another parking spot back there?
Not about this one. I have another shopping center. Every tenant you have like dumpster behind it. It don't looking like nice, trashy.
Nope.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's why I make it, pay more money for this dumpster every another day. Yeah,
No, I'm glad to hear it's 8 yard.
8 yard, yeah. With the lock, they have the lock, with the cover.
And they'll all have access to
Yeah.
it, so that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Nope, other than that, I think you did a great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Is the dumpster incorrectly noted as 4?
It says
Yes.
2 to 3.
Okay.
No, 8 yard.
But make sure it's corrected on your next site plan coming.
Yeah, it's 8 yard.
And Mr. Hanna, who are your tenants on their upper right-hand corner? I think you have a beauty salon.
Is White Hair Beauty Salon, he open only weekend.
Okay.
Only
I
weekend,
see,
like
I
by
noticed.
appointment, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And this one, repair phone
Right, the
shop.
phone repair?
Yeah, and this one is like, broker, the
And the
truck
beauty
broker.
salon's only open on the weekend?
Hair salon, yeah, only weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And this one is vacant. Yeah.
Okay. And Mr. Warnick, is that 35-foot wide enough for, does that?
Oh,
meet
for
our
the ingress and
engineering
egress?
This one 35. From here to here,
Why
I measure it now before I
asked
come.
you to do that.
I mean, when you think about it, it should, I guess the only way is take your car through there and
I have.
see, how'd you do?
It's fine. That's
Yeah.
why I was wondering. why
I don't remember problems with that.
No.
Being here my whole life and going through there.
Look, this one, only
many
18.
times. Those
Yeah,
are
that was
basically the
smaller for the
ingress
bar.
and egress for the bar.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yours was fine when I was there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but, correct me, but this has to go through engineering review also to meet,
Yeah, for a parking lot.
This one almost 38. I have.
okay. It will, the plan itself, when you come back with the revised plan, will go through engineering review also.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Are there any other issues that haven't been addressed?
I don't think, did we have anything?
Can you fix the Dairy Queen?
Well, you gotta look at it. It's like all the part has been fell all over. I see it from the roof and everything. Today, all the stuff. I put them in
Bring it
this.
up at the end of the meeting tonight.
Yeah.
Code enforcement.
I offer them. You don't want to sell it. Yeah, we're gonna do.
Ms. Erickson, should we have concern with the Dairy Queen in crossing that access? I mean, even for pedestrians, is that a concern?
Always, if you're going on someone else's property, cross-access is a concern. So in order to, I mean, it's really ultimately up to the commission, but if you're going onto someone else's property, our office would obviously recommend having a cross-access agreement in place.
But I don't think that it would be.
Well,
No, because his
natural
property,
way is going to be, because that is just parking, like, there's no fences there or anything.
No
Isn't it?
fancy.
Those property lines, it's wide open.
Right.
You wouldn't even know you're on Dairy Queen's property.
and you wouldn't be.
But let's say whoever owns that could put up some kind of barrier or something. I mean, it should have to go for them for a site plan. I mean, they had a previous site plan, nothing was done with it. But they could, without an agreement, chances are they could make it hard on you. And then you're going to get people complaining because they damaged their car turning into that thing. Like if they put a bumper there, but, I'm just using examples of what, how some people get upset. And we want everybody to get along.
I mean, but this has been historically operating with no problems.
Right.
I mean, Mr. Hanna bought it from someone who owned it for 34 years.
Yeah.
And there were no issues whatsoever with the property on the 14 Mile and with the Dairy Queen. So,
Here's our chance to correct things that could have happened even.
yeah, true, I agree with
And
you.
that's not saying nothing ever did happen, because it has had some issues in the past that,
I take care of all the curve for the bar guy. I take care of for my own expense for the bar guy, all the curve. I pay for it.
and he's got parking then on that side, the other side of that, right?
Yeah.
Right up against those?
It's right here. You see?
Yeah. So, no, but they have the same lines even with yours?
Yes.
So there's,
I take care of this side, not my side.
yeah,
He tried to help.
yeah. Everybody's got to get
I did
along.
the asphalt too. I did the asphalt this side. You see this side? All this I did for his side.
Yeah, the only thing is the cross-access is mainly, it works both ways. It's going to help them and that, but at least you take care of the legal matter. So
And he's parking all.
they should be all for it.
Of course, I mean, the reason why he didn't want to cooperate is because he's on a land contract. And
Oh,
he
yeah.
didn't want to be in violation of his agreement. And I explained to him that the seller on the land contract only owns a personal interest, not a real interest in the property. But he said, what if I default on the agreement? I mean, I asked him, will you default? He said no. So, but he still didn't want to cooperate.
Did you contact anybody about the Dairy Queen, the owner?
No, because I met with Mr. Paul prior to Mr. Littman, and he told me the only issue for that is for you to fix the parking to be parallel, and that will resolve the issue. And that's what we did.
Okay.
Yeah,
Commissioner,
They can't be held responsible for the debris on the pieces of the roof that are falling off.
say that again, Commissioner Farina.
They can't be held responsible for the pieces of roof falling off at the Dairy Queen and the debris on the area. That's not their property.
Okay. Commissioner Meyer.
I still think we have problems on the east side with the 6 parking spaces and even the 4 up at the top, because if they back out, they have to go onto the property for the bar.
Onto the bar property.
Exactly.
Because that's exactly what I did when I parked in the back. I
Right.
crossed onto the bar
Coming
property.
back, those he coming to my property too. The bar guy, if you go, is parking here. If you coming back, is my line is right here. He's going in my property.
It works both ways.
Both way. It goes.
That's the reason why we want that cross-access.
Just his side.
Can you get the agreement with the bar guy?
That's what she was
He
talking
didn't
about.
cooperate. He did, because he's the one who's on.
Oh, he's the one who's on land
Yeah.
contract. I'm sorry, I
He didn't
misunderstood
cooperate.
that.
I mean,
And it's weird because they use it, it benefits both. It benefits them, and I would think,
Being honest with you, the guy, the husband, he's agreeing. The wife, she's scared.
Yeah.
I went there. Oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Barr.
Yes,
The husband, he's agree. The wife, no. I went there. I got the agreement. It's right here.
Yeah,
If you want to
Mr.
see it.
Hanna already
I
signed the
it.
agreement.
I take it to them.
Okay, one
Yeah.
moment.
If you want to
Mr.
see
Hanna.
it,
Okay, you can pass the agreement, but I did ask Commissioner Barr, she has some comments too, so patience.
yeah.
Go ahead,
I
Commissioner.
have some comments because the man who doesn't want to sign
because he's on a land contract, if
Yes.
the lawyer just put in, could just change it a little bit, I'm sure that could be worked out and he would.
We change
We
it.
did. We
We
did.
did.
I made modifications to the agreement, and they still said we'll review, and they still refused to
Well,
sign.
maybe you didn't make the right.
I did. Everything they asked, I did. I made all of their requirements that they've asked of me. Yeah.
I'm an attorney, so that's the reason I'm
Thank you.
saying that I do believe it
know.
could be worked out where he would sign it if you worded it certain ways.
My agreement was an agreement that I have received. There is an attorney that you work with, I believe, Ms. Erickson. He works at a law firm for the city. I forgot his name, and he sent me a sample of the agreement. He said this is what we would accept. So within that agreement, I still made more changes to satisfy the owner of the bar, but they still refused to sign because they said we are on a land contract and we are afraid of violating our agreement. That was their main reason.
That's what has to be worked out. Not making changes per se, but he has to feel comfortable that he's not violating his land contract or there's going to be a problem.
Yeah, well, him violating the agreement, not because of what clauses I have in the agreement, it just signing an easement. He believes that he would be in violation because he believes he's not the owner of the property. When I explained to him, he doesn't own real property interest into the property itself. It's only personal interest. And then he still didn't agree. I tried to explain, I tried to make all of the changes that they requested, and they still believed that they would still be in violation if they would sign it.
Could it go back to the original owner that they got the land contract with?
That,
Can I show it to you?
Mr. Hanna, please, can I just ask you to wait? We're talking here.
yeah, the thing is, the owner of the building doesn't have real property interest into the property because he sold it to the new bar owner. And now the bar owner owns real property interest. The other guy only owns personal property interest as a security of payment. So if he defaults on an agreement, then the property would, ripen into a real property and goes back to the real owner. But right now, that's not the issue because they're making payments. So if I were to go to the original owner, they don't have real property interest at all. So it would not be an agreement between real property owners. It would be an agreement between a real property owner and a personal property owner, and that's not valid.
Of course, we don't get involved with the law stuff. That's why we have
Yeah, I mean,
attorneys.
I tried to explain to them that that's not an issue, and if even as a matter of law, the easement itself will terminate if they would to default on a land contract. And I told them that, and they still refused to sign.
It's almost like you want to work together and have,
Yeah.
because if they back off and then hit somebody on your property, I don't know all the things that can happen, but stuff happens out there that we have no control. And then all of a sudden, I would think it would help everybody's insurances. It'd fall into place.
Yeah.
That, hey, you're protecting your business.
100%.
Now, I don't know.
Ms.
I'm not a
Erickson,
lawyer.
could you help us out with that? How, what are your thoughts on that agreement?
The agreement being in place or the proposed agreement to the bar owner?
The proposed agreement.
Without having looked at it or known what the bar owner rejected or perhaps didn't want to sign, I can't say for certain. Perhaps that's something the applicant could provide to our office, and maybe we could try to work together, see if there's other terms that maybe we could review, see if maybe we can come up with something. But I can't really say for sure without having looked at what
What
the
was
property owner
proposed.
has rejected.
Okay, thank
May I
you.
provide a copy? I have one that was signed by Mr. Hanna that the property owner to the adjacent property refused to sign.
You can pass it.
Okay.
Okay.
May I do it now? Okay.
See, I have the message from the bar owner. He
Okay,
said,
maybe you could read it? Can you read it to us,
yeah,
Mr. Hanna?
he said, I don't mind to sign the agreement, but I cannot because the line contract, my wife, she signed it, so I cannot sign it. He's able to agree with me, but his wife, she cannot.
And they need both signatures. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. 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 Commissioner Farina?
Alicia? If, she just said if it defaults, it goes back to the original owner. You know, if they would default. Does that mean that we should get the shared agreement with the original owner? I know she said it's just a property, you know, what's the?
Mr. Farina, I'd like to look into it a little bit more. I felt like that might have been a little bit of a bar exam scenario for me to try to run through, so I don't want to do it on the cuff. I'd like to.
Pass the bar?
I did, first try. But, so I think that's something that we definitely should look into, because I think that's new information for everyone tonight.
Okay. I'm going to say, maybe we should just settle it and say within, when you come back with the site plan, that you will be working with our attorney and hopefully come back with some type of access agreement that's signed.
Okay, what if they won't cooperate even?
We'll let you work with,
that-
Ms. Erickson,
Then we'll listen to Ms. Erickson, who
Right.
is our attorney.
and she can give us,
What they recommend.
right,
Okay.
right. Commissioner Perry?
This is kind of I don't know if it's a silly question, but we're making Mr. Hanna get all these parking agreements because he's backing up onto this bar properties. His tenant, the clients are backing up onto the bar parking lot, but we're making him get a parking agreement, but this guy's using his property and he doesn't need an agreement. It's kind of silly that we're holding his feet to the fire when this guy's using his property.
We're not talking about shared parking now. We're talking about cross-access. So you're talking about,
Well, I can't tell where the property line ends. I don't know, does it go straight up and down? Is it on a slant? It goes straight? Okay, well then,
straight. So it's both, it's both parties crossing properties.
correct.
Do you understand, or? do you
I mean, yeah, yes.
And the reason he's being held for it, because he's the one asking for the changes.
Correct. I understand that part.
Would I add to that also, please? I mean, Mr. Hanna didn't make any changes to the footprint. He didn't resize the property. It was only done to the facade. So why are all of these new requirements when there was nothing actually changed to the size of the property at all?
Ms. Erickson, can you answer that? I don't know if you heard the question she posed. She's saying that at the very beginning, at the initial, there were no cross-access to begin with. So why are we asking for them at this point?
Well, I think when an applicant asks the city for something in terms of, filing an application or seeking site plan approval or something like that, it's just essentially good policy to have these agreements in place and perhaps correct mistakes that were there in the past, if you want to call it a mistake. But, when it's brought to the city's attention, I think it's something that, obviously needs to be reviewed by the city, whether that be by this board, a different board, or anything.
It's our time to make all the corrections that, and make it convenient and easy and
I agree, I completely.
legal.
But isn't something called non-conforming also exist? For example, a grandfather in, if it was already in existence? I mean, there are a lot of properties in other cities, and even in the city of Fraser, that doesn't comply with everything because they're non-conforming.
That, to me, I think is a little bit apples to oranges here. That's not a setback or something like that that's non-conforming or, a use or something like this. This is just simply the fact that these properties are next to each other. The applicant has come before the commission based on the site plan that's been submitted and the uses that are submitted, things of that nature. The commission may feel that these agreements need to be in place in order for the site plan to work. It's not necessarily a non-conforming use or structure.
At this point, it's not non-conforming because you have come in with another site plan application and you have reconfigured the property.
No, that there was no reconfiguration. The only reconfiguration that happened was to the parking lot to address the Dairy Queen issue. But other than that, it was just a new pavement and new relining of the parking. There has nothing was done, only to the facade
We're
of the
not here
building.
to argue.
I'm sorry?
here
I'm
to
not here to argue. I'm just here
Yes.
to find a solution to what needs to be done
Work with
because,
the attorney.
Right, Ms.
Yeah.
Asmer, we're going to send you back anyways to the drawing board.
Okay.
So you're going to be working with our attorney
Okay.
and with our planner. I think the non-conforming aspect might have something to do with it. I know you're just working on the facade. If you're saying nothing else has changed, ask our city planner.
Okay.
They'll work with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good, thank you.
Okay. We've got,
I did.
okay. Ms. Erickson, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to, I guess, clarify a few things here. So obviously, the applicant has provided me an example of, what the adjacent property owner has essentially refused to sign. As a role as the city attorney, I'm going to take a review, see if there's anything that perhaps the city would be willing to accept in terms of if this would be, recorded or anything like that. I just want to make kind of my role here clear. I'm not going to be getting in between property owners or things of that nature, but it's just simply a review on the city's part to see if there's anything that perhaps something could be changed. Okay.
We do want to work with you. We love what you've done, so we like the improvement. We do want to work this out, so.
And also, Madam Chair, if I can.
Yes.
I also want to clarify my statements at the beginning of the meeting. Our review of the minutes from the previous meeting, we took that as a site plan approval with conditions. So I apologize and thank you all for clarifying me on the procedural history of everything. But I just want to make that clear. I apologize.
Oh, not a problem. Thank you. Okay, I lost track who was first. Mr. Warnick or,
She was.
okay, Ms.
I
Commissioner
think
Bard.
if you work with an attorney, you're going to find out some things. First of all, if he has customers that park in your lot, they can get a ticket from the city, use of lot other than intended. When I was a magistrate, I had a lot of those come, somebody would go to the restaurant and then they go across where, because there was no parking and they get a ticket. You can't park in a lot. You can't park in somebody else's lot if you call the police. So I think I'm still going back to, if you get together with an attorney who does all this research and they sit down and explain to the wife what their possibility of their liability, I think she'll change her mind.
I've been have issue with the restaurant next door. The sticker, it's been 10 months. They rolled my parking lot. Why don't say that?
Microphone.
Why don't say that then? I have issue with the parking lot next door. The Mexican restaurant. They've been all the customer parking in my parking lot. Why don't say that then? Do something for me then.
Oh.
I did all this one for the city. I took care of all the property, and you promised to do it everything easy for me, and nothing happened. Do something then. Now for a small issue like that, you want to stop all this, been coming back and back and back. It's been 10 months now, every day. I spend all kind of money.
Mr.
I don't
Hannah?
have the proof yet.
I think,
No, I have, you know how much I have damage so far, 25,000.
Mr. Hannah?
For my parking lot for next door. Still, the supervisor don't do anything for me.
Okay, Mr. Hannah?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to calm down a little
Yeah,
bit. We are trying to work with you.
Because it's not fair next door,
All right.
the restaurant, ma'am. I have
understand.
damage,
I
so
understand you've
much
had a
damage I have it.
parking problem the whole time.
You have that, and a food truck.
I
Has
understand
been
that
parking
too.
there, you don't have any license, any permit, they give him, it's been there for 2 years, no permit. How is gonna be there sitting there?
The city is working on the food.
How is gonna be working? They give him everyday proof with no permit.
I don't know, sir, and I know the
How is
city is
gonna be?
working
Don't
on
know
it.
somebody
I have
there.
no answers for you, Mr. Hannah, okay? We are trying to work with you. You did the work on your own before coming to the city with the site plan, and that's what started this. We like the facade, but you started working on the facade before coming to us, and that's when we said, hey, you have to come in front of the planning commission.
I understand, ma'am.
Okay.
Why don't talking about the damage I said? You know how much
You'd
damage I
have to
have?
work with the police department on that. If you have problems with the parking, with the Mexican restaurant, you'll have to call the police department.
I call the police. They come in, they don't do nothing.
Okay. I can't answer
I
that.
call the, you know how many time I towing the car there? Over 30 cars I towing. Still they parking. Go now, nighttime, see what they have there, festival there in my parking. I'm not doing for the next door.
Mr. Hannah, we're here to discuss your site plan, okay? All right. we
She
have-
mentioned something, I gotta mention to her, right?
And we know you're having trouble, we know that's why you want the fence. And that's why you had to go to the ZBA to make the fence down to 4 feet, okay?
I'm just giving you some ideas
Yeah.
to say, sit down with an attorney and work it out, and then bring the people in, you see?
At least I have nice neighbor, you know, I don't have any problem with my neighbor, not with the bad neighbor I have. All that cost me a lot of problem and cost me a lot of damage. You gotta be scaled right, you know?
I'm just saying is that there are things to consider. There are ways to be able to get the people to agree to what you want them to do. But you have to know, you have to be able to do the research.
You know, my mistake, you know, I did this property right. I'll be honest. I wish you'd leave it ghetto like what it is. You know, I mistake to come into this city.
Commissioner
I'll be honest
Farina,
with you.
Mr. Hannah, I'm going to ask you, no more. Okay. Commissioner Farina, you have any comments?
You made my comments.
Okay, all right.
I'd rather not say that right
It
now.
get-
Oh, mine,
walk out.
you turned mine off.
I have a comment. Ms. Barr, I appreciate your guidance on how to
Just-
resolve the issue. And I know that I need to work with the city attorney in regard with this issue. But what if they don't want to hire an attorney? I mean, attorney costs money.
You hire it.
I hire it on their behalf. I mean, it's gonna, the thing is, even if I hire it, it's not, they're not gonna believe it's in their best interest because we are hiring the attorney, not them. And it just like the wife is scared to sign. I had multiple conversations with them. And they're scared to sign it because they believe they would be in violation of the land contract. And I cannot force them to hire an attorney and pay for it.
Ms. Asmar, we understand. It's something that you have to work out. Mr. Hannah, you're the one who put the money in the site plan. I remember distinctly telling you at the September meeting that you're putting that money in with no site plan approval yet. And you did continue to do some more concrete work after that meeting. So, you know, I'm sorry you feel like, you know, the city's not doing anything for you. We are trying to work with you. We appreciate what you've already done. But we have to get the site plan approved, and it has to be a legal site plan agreement. So in order to do that, we're going to ask you to come back with a revised plan with the correct parking, with the dumpster being redefined as it's 8 yards, and to come back with a cross-access easement agreement, and hopefully maybe even a shared parking agreement. Do your best. That's all we can say. You're going to be coming back with a revised plan. Commissioner Warnick.
Yeah, we're not an enforcement agency, so we don't
Not
do the
saying-
enforcement.
I'm not saying, but
But I know, well, that's, you know, we're not going to discuss that even because we don't do enforcing. The whole thing is, it is needed, because we talked about it, did it need a site plan? Yes, the parking was completely reconfigured, so it definitely needs a site plan, and there's reasons behind our madness, or whatever you want to call it. But I'm just let's use an idea. What, if you wanted to, you could fence off that property from the bar.
Put a wall up.
If you came to us and we added that to the site plan, you could fence that off. Then he's got to come in only from 14 Mile. You know them customers are going through your parking lot going on to Groesbeck. If you did that and fenced that off, they're restricted to there. Now, if they park over there, what are they going to start jumping the fence? I mean, but that'll make, you can't get involved with that, and you can't cross-access anymore if there's a fence up there or a brick wall. But is yours going to be a problem? Are people still going to be able to come around if you did that? I'm just taking a hypothetical thing that can solve problems still maybe from them parking there. I don't know. We don't want to talk about that here, though, because that's an enforcement thing. We're trying to make this the best thing for you. You've done a lot with this. To give you a nice site, just saying to get these cross-access agreements will at least solve us here. And then whatever it comes to for enforcement, you'd have to go, like you said, the additions we already talked about, which would be the changing on here. And you'll see it's in the drawing. So that's the way I'm making a motion as the cross-access agreements. If something can't get resolved, I mean, we come forward again. You're coming here again no matter what. So let's give it some other, after you have communication with our attorneys, and maybe something can.
And support by Commissioner Farina to postpone the site plan?
absolutely.
Okay, there's several conditions. One is to correct the dumpster on the site plan. To come back with the revised plan that shows the dumpster, you know, with the correct size, the parking revised, and a cross-access easement. Okay?
Yes.
Okay?
It's going to be end.
Again,
All right, thank you.
you're welcome. Agenda item 8, public communication on non-agenda items. I believe there are none.
By Dales, and it's been sold to a different company, and they are looking to add additional buildings, and I think we were supposed to have an applicant come tomorrow, and he is not going to be able to come. He is going to go to opening day where Mark Steinmeier is also.
Commissioner Perry?
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Farina?
Yes, is there any change on the Fraser Hockey Land parking agreements?
No change.
One tomorrow night of the season. We've had a great year. Come by for a great fish dinner if you feel like you want to. It is our going out of business sale, so.
They are properly permitted now, but they kind of have to be removed by June 30th.
Okay, I thought
And
I
they
had
will
read
not
that.
be re-permitted at that time. They will have to come up with a new solution
I'm sorry, they do.
with them.
Would you please?
Yes.
Let them know. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Littman?
Yes. Oh, let's see. So I'm ready to report back a bit on the RRC program that you were asking me about, and also the sidewalk. Manager Levin is well acquainted with that program, but is very concerned about the city's resources and the time that it takes to be. She did emphasize that to be engaged in RRC, there's a lot of updating of municipal processes and procedures, which is a weekly training session on RRC best practices, and you can register, and it's for free. So I can send that info. It was discontinued around the beginning of the Great Recession, around 2007, 2008, right? And the idea was that it was discontinued to provide some relief to present it to City Council.
And present it
To City Council.
to City Council. Okay. Okay.
So that was their position. Yep.
Okay. Good.
That's it.
That's it. Any questions of Mr. Littman? Thank you, Mr. Littman. It's helpful. Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Perry and support by Commissioner Farina to adjourn the meeting. Ms. Greenia, can we just say, oh, yay? Yes. Okay. Any nays?
Yay.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. It was 8:18 PM.
All right, let's talk.
Okay, so let me show you what you've done in my order.
Randy, I'll see you tomorrow.
Bowling.
And we completed all.
My wife